Welcome back, everybody. We are on the other side of 2023 now, 2024. We all survived Christmas. We all survived the New Year's. My New Year's got pretty wild. We can talk about that in a second. But I'm glad this thing's making it on throughout the rest of basketball season. And I've got Tim behind the scenes here and Michael from the station. And let's just jump right into it. So Kentucky just defeated Illinois State 96-70, I believe that was something of that sort. The kind of narrative of that game was Antonio Reeves versus old team. Um, you called on the last podcast, Antonio Reeves better go off against his old team. And I kind of questioned you. I was like, he just went off against Louisville. Is he going to be hot 2 games in a row? I wasn't confident. I just wasn't. He was nuclear against Louisville, and I was wrong. And as many times as I am, I was wrong once again. So, Michael, you called it. Well, what do you think about Antonio Reeves getting a very quiet, very urgent 27 points against his old team?
Yeah, man. Well, we talk so much about the freshmen and their draft stock, but it's like Tone's trying to get to the league too. I mean, that's why, he didn't end last year the way he wanted. That tournament game was awful. It turned off some scouts, some front office guys, whatever the case may be. He didn't like the thought of, maybe getting a G League spot. And so he comes back and I mean, if he keeps scoring like this, someone's got to at least give him a shot. Summer league is going to happen no matter what, and he'll have an opportunity to play well there. But he's trying to bump up his draft stock, and he has. He shoots so well, and he scores at all three levels. His leadership, obviously, we've talked about is huge with him and Trey being those upperclassmen leaders. And so you got 27 and 6 boards in 34 minutes. That's fantastic, man. You got those two lethal freshman guards coming off the bench, but when Tone is scoring that way, and you got DJ just running the show, it's just, it's kind of hard to not have them in the ball game. You kind of have to have them in the ball game. And, they pick their nights, Reed, Rob, um, Edwards down to 21 minutes again. We've talked about that. Good game, 9 points, 4 boards, but the minutes obviously fluctuates. But Tone, man, that dude's a baller, and he's playing to try to get to the league.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of getting drafted, he's got a lot of competition on his own team, but he's playing, he's holding his own of trying to get to the league. I know last summer there was a lot of talk about him trying to think he got invited to a combine or such, and just nothing went good last summer. No, we didn't hear much good feedback. That's of course why he's back. But I seen a stat that said, this is 6 times this season he scored more than 20 points a game. I mean, it's often him and Trey Mitchell are the top 2 scorers on our team. Like that's almost the most guarantee there's been on this entire talented team of freshmen, and then those 2 veterans. Then I also seen a thing that said across his career he's had 37 games of 20 plus points. So I mean, if anything, you're gonna get a scorer. If you take a chance on him in the league and get him like a G League contract or whatever he can find his role. And I think that's with this being his second year at Kentucky after so long in a NBA like system. You're just, obviously you get better and better, and it's eventually you're going to find your way onto some G League team. Some, even if it's at the bottom of the barrel, it's hard for these guys, especially spending multiple years here, to like kind of just fizzle off and quit playing basketball unless they go overseas or something. So I'm confident he'll find his way, whatever that may be. He's played great this year. It's been obviously better than last year, and I think maybe some of that just goes to it was more forcing it last year. I mean, they were the guys, and they got more touches, and now you can kind of take them as they come and and be kind of picky with your shots. So I love to see that from Antonio Reeves. Jordan Burks was pretty impressive. He got a lot of minutes. I didn't get to see his final stats, and I don't think they were nothing crazy, but like that was the best we've seen from Jordan Burks since he's been here at Kentucky. So that was something good to note. And then um, the normal guys, just Rob Dillingham, let's see, DJ Wagner, they all did their thing. But I don't know, it was exciting, a game that we knew we were going to win. Won pretty comfortably. Kind of start to go on to the year. I think they're at 10-2 now, 11-2. So I don't know. You knew he was going to get that win and kind of cap out non-conference play before they take on at Florida. That's going to be a rowdy environment nonetheless. I don't know how Florida's been this year, but you gotta know that game's going to be pretty wild. So it's kind of getting prepared for that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this team performs on those quick turnarounds now because they've had one game a week like all month, and then one game a week again this week. gives you a lot of time to scout. You get in the conference play where it's rugged, it's tougher, and you gotta have those quick turnarounds, 2 games a week, which obviously isn't insane, but it's just more than one. So I think we'll learn a lot about this team in the next few weeks. The fresh legs, the depth is really going to help. They've you mentioned Burks. Maybe he's going to get more time. Ugana, um, they each got 11, 10 minutes. So I think we'll see more of them, and it'll just be interesting to see them, against some better competition. The big games, Kansas, North Carolina, those were awesome. We know that this team can play against the top teams in the country. That's why they're sixth in the poll. But I think conference play is going to test them even more, and especially with those 2 games a week. Some true road games. Only one really true road game with Louisville. So good tests for the team coming up. I'm excited.
Yeah. I can kind of say now that I'm really glad we're getting past these non-conference games. We got them over with. Those are always so slow. But this year has been fun. In the last handful of years I can remember, this has been the most fun it's been. But normally those are just slow, guaranteed wins. We got that North Carolina Kansas game to kind of have some fun with. But now it's where this team gets really tested. Even just the middle of the pack of the SEC is pretty talented, at least on most years. And so we know we've got a good team. We just want to see them against a good competition now. And then against North Carolina and Kansas, it was fun. So I'm ready to see this SEC schedule get started and kind of see what this team is made of. I'm glad you brought up this morning sometime, or actually this afternoon, the AP poll came out. Kentucky was ranked 6th, right behind Tennessee. But there was an interesting note from that the last time that Kentucky was ranked 6th or higher after Christmas was the 2016-2017 team with De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Bam Adebayo. That was a fun year. We know how good that team was. How far they went. They had a championship game in an Elite Eight matchup that went to a buzzer beater. So, if you're kind of the DNA is there is what I'm trying to get at. I don't know. So now we're getting to the strong test of seeing what they're made up against consistently good competition and not just putting up 96 on a Illinois State of the world.
Yeah, and I wasn't there for the game because I was obviously down in Jacksonville for the Gator Bowl. But I thought, Cal said that, he likes his team. He likes how they can, pass, dribble, and shoot and everything. He likes this team, but he's upset about the rebounding. I didn't see the official rebounding numbers, but all these look kind of low. Bradshaw with just 1 board in 15 minutes. I guess they gave up what, like 20, they got out rebounded by 24, or they gave up like a bunch of offensive rebounds or something. I saw.
Yeah,
Um,
they did get out rebounded 45-40. Wow.
and then how many offensive boards did they give up?
They gave up 24. That's what Cal was big on. Yeah, they
Yeah,
got rebounded. I don't
that's
think I realized that.
that's an absurd amount, especially when you have, 270-footers. So, and that's probably just effort, right? Tone was the only one that was really trying in this game. It was a sleepy game, especially when you get to like tournament games like that. It's kind of a rush, and then you go to a game like this, and it's just kind of a snooze fest. So I don't think the guys were just really like giving 100% effort, which isn't.
No, Shibwe either.
Right, right, and Cal misses him.
Advantage last year.
Yeah, Cal misses him for sure when you're looking at the rebounding stats, but when you're looking at everything else, you're like, I don't miss him that much. But no, I'm kidding. Oscar's the best, but um, the rebounding, yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. The whole Big Z thing is kind of weird, but it's good that he went over there and got to see his family and whatever. But as we talked about, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if that dude just doesn't play all year, and who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Huh?
I don't think he's coming back. I
Yeah,
really do not.
yeah.
His girl, if most people don't talk about this part, but we all follow him on Instagram. At least I do, and his girlfriend's over there, and you know how it is when you're
Yeah.
19, 20, however old these kids are. I get mixed up with it now. It's your world, and that you make a lot of decisions based off your other spouse because at the time it's a big deal. So I know that's like a side factor, not even the main thing, but like that's another thing that's your whole family, your girlfriend, yeah, all your life's there when you're over here in a totally different foreign world and you're not doing what you came here to do. Man, I don't expect him to come back. I know all the PR talk and all the stuff on social media and things like that. They all say he's going to be back, but it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me unless they find a way to get him eligible. But half the year's over now.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Like, you know, this team doesn't need 3 7-footers. Like, you need two. You got Aaron, you got Ugana, and after that, like, I think it's good that Burks is going to see more opportunity. He's a good four. Um, Cal said he doesn't love playing Edwards at the four. I feel like he kind of has to, if to get three of those incredible guards on the floor. But that gives a good opportunity for Burks. I think he's a good player. I mean, it'll be good to see him get some reps. Um, all in all, I like the team. Um, Florida, and then Missouri back here at home. So, and then like the SEC is kind of weird. Like Ole Miss is still undefeated, right? And South Carolina was like, weren't they the worst team in the league last year? And now they're 12-1, so 11-2. I know non-conference is weird, um, because just
Isn't
competition, but
Bama,
it'll be fun to see them in conference games for sure.
isn't Bama kind of down this year in basketball? I think they
Yeah,
are.
they're
I caught some of
they're
the season games.
um yeah, Arkansas 9-4, Bama 8-5,
Uh,
Vandy's 5-8. Oh,
wow.
I mean, I'm not that surprised, but 5-8 is like really low to be a. How do you already have 8 losses in non-conference?
Gosh. But yeah, I mean, kind of what we've been hitting on all year. This, Kentucky's not done anything in the postseason, especially not in the SEC tournament. This is the year to do it, and this is where it starts now. I mean, you're about to hit this full slate of all January and all February facing off against the SEC. This is the year to do it. This is the year for Cal and Kentucky to insert their dominance again, show them that they own the SEC and that they need to make it happen this year. These teams are down, and even if the best team, the best teams in the SEC, Kentucky, they don't have more talent than Kentucky. If as long as Kentucky goes out and plays the way they should, they don't have a problem winning any of that. And they just kind of, you're gonna have some road tests where some people get cold and things don't go the way you plan, but you have so much talent on this team that it ain't likely 6 of your guys going cold against the team, even if you're all on the road in that crazy environment. So they better do it this year, in my opinion.
They've done well at Florida. I covered that game at Florida last year, which was a lot of fun. I got a buddy that lives in Orlando, and kind of wanted to do it again, but since I was just down there, I was like, I can't do it. Can't make the trip down. But that should be a solid. It'll be a test, but we'll really start to know what these other SEC teams are looking like um, in the next few weeks. But I think I think Tennessee, obviously, one spot ahead of them at 5 in the poll. They're going to be the real deal. So these games are going to be fun, man. Football's done. Now we focus on hoops. It's going to be a good few months.
Michael, I did want to check with you one thing. So for you all listening, we do have a guest coming on after this. Michael's got to hop off in just a second. So we're going to cut this part a little short. But Michael, before we got out of here, I did want to ask you kind of two little points. The first one was, did you want to hit on just a little bit about your experience down at the bowl game? I know that we all have our opinions on the ending, but like outside of that, like how was a quick little synopsis? How was the trip to Gainesville? And then also want to see how your New Year's and Christmas Eve went, because I ain't seen you guys in a while, man. We all kind of took that break, just have family time, do the kind of things that are a lot more important outside of this world of basketball and football. So how was that trip down in Gainesville or
It
Jacksonville?
was it was good, man. I wish the weather was nicer. I kind of wanted to like go on the beach or something, but that was good. It was a good trip. And I like Jacksonville. People don't really like it. People have had a lot of negative reviews on Jacksonville. I thought it was cool. I mean, it's obviously not as nice as Miami or other spots, but um, it was good. That's just tough loss. I kind of felt like last team with the ball was gonna have a good shot at winning that ball game once that because that fourth quarter was just wild. It's kind of both
Insane.
defenses were just cooked, but it's tough. They're gonna have a little revamp. It'll be fun to see Brock and if Chip can be another 1,000-yard rusher for the program. So I love football, so it was fun. It was fun to just get down there.
Yeah, kind of ready for this new season of football. I mean, as far away from possible right now that we are, but like I'm kind of ready to pass on this team. It was had ups and downs, a lot of head scratching moments, frustrating moments throughout the year. I'm just kind of ready to pass this one on. Wish I would have won, but what can we do? Before we let you go, Michael, did you have a good New Year's, Christmas? I know you probably went back home, didn't you? Back to Michigan.
Yeah, I went back home the week before Christmas, and then I worked Christmas Eve and Christmas just to have our other two, Jordan and Colby. They wanted them to have the holiday off, so I worked those days, and then and then yeah, New Year's was fun. Just hung out with some of the Fox people, and then sandwiched that Jacksonville trip in between. So it's been a busy month, but a good month. What about yours?
That was good. I went down to see my mom and actually in Fort. I was there about a week before you, but I was on the other side of the state at the very bottom down at Fort Myers to go see my mom. So it was weird seeing palm trees on December 24th, Christmas Eve, but I just made it back for Christmas. We drove 13 and a half hours throughout the night. It was wild. But yeah, it was good, man. The New Year's Eve, I went to go watch Tyler and Rupp Arena. That was a moment. Me and Jordan went to go out. Jordan Mathis went to go out to see him. Then we made a little trip down to the bars downtown Lexington. Got some stories from that night, man. Last night, yeah, it was pretty wild. Didn't go to sleep till like 4 this morning. Caught some sleep before we hopped on here, man. But yeah, it was good, man. It was wild. I don't normally get that wild, but it was fun. Me and Jordan had ourselves a little night. But yeah, I got this hat there. I was just like
It's a
Tyler.
dope hat.
I was like, take all my money. So I don't know. Yeah, so I
That
had
is a dope hat. I need one for sure.
wasn't 35 bucks, man. I was expecting to be like 50 bucks or something. It wasn't bad. Tyler was good as can be. And yeah, we were there their New Year. So like they had a big countdown, confetti came all there. Like it was a cool moment. I'll send you a video later. But it was cool. It was a great New Year's. Best one I've had in a while. I'm glad I
He's a
can
legend, man. Shake the Frost. What
yeah,
great song. He's got an awesome voice.
got to hear him saying you remind me of a Sunday back home in Old Kentucky on a Sunday.
Oh,
Moment, man.
perfect. It's good, man.
Other than that, Michael, we got a college football playoff game going on right now. I've been watching it a little bit. I have to admit, it's been right here on my TV. So let's hop off and I think we're pulling for Bama right now.
Yeah, Michigan, I want them to lose every single game. I'm a Michigan State grad, so Wolverines can go kick rocks and roll tide today. I got wearing the red for
Yeah, don't tell nobody, real Todd.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
Michael,
right,
have
brother.
catch you next time.
All right.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're on the other side of the break. We just let Michael go. He had to go back to his TV duties, but now we've got a special guest, Jonas Alger. I know I'm gonna butcher that. Jonas, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Great to be here, man.
Did I get that right, or did you want to correct me real quickly?
Alger, it's the same thing, you know.
There you go. Well, you are with, of course, Tennessee Tech at the moment. You were is it a student manager? What did you call it when you were with Kentucky a few years ago?
So I was a student manager for 4 years. I started, right before my freshman year when my first semester in, I got the job. Long process. It took basically the whole summer. I had to work the camps, kind of volunteer and show that I was a hard worker. And their equipment manager thought that I was, worth hiring. So he went ahead and gave me the chance. So, I'm blessed for that. And I still thank him all the time for that, just that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. So let's kind of get into that. So what years were you at Kentucky and kind of talk about how that got in the mix and your kind of a quick experience at Kentucky, or it doesn't have to be quick. You can go as much detail as you want.
Yeah, so I had probably one of the most interesting 4 years as a manager. So my freshman year was the 2019-20 team with Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly, Nate Sestina, EJ Montgomery, Nick Richards. It was a very solid Ashton Hagens, like very, very solid team. And we started off rough that year. I don't know how much you guys remember. We lost to Evansville.
I was with that.
Yeah. Khalil Whitney left a couple weeks after. We had Johnny Juzang off the bench, and that was freshman year Keon Brooks. So, we had a great team, great roster. We were playing well. Tyrese hit that Michigan State three-pointer, like great season for us, and we finished it strong. And then, of course, COVID hits, and we still to this day are pretty confident that we were a Final Four team. And a lot of people, bash Cal for we haven't won tournament games this many years, blah, blah, blah. But that was one of those years that kind of got stolen from us. But the job was great. It's a lot of hard work, and the managers are really the unsung heroes of the program. For example, like I'm not there anymore, but my friend Ray Surratt, he's 6'10". He played for Lafayette and Lexington. Everyone knows him from the white streak in his hair. He's in there every day banging against the bigs, doing as much as he can to just help them get better, whether it's rebounding, playing defense, or trying to score on them, like whatever it is. So, they do a lot, but then again, he'll be wiping the floor during the games or throwing the seats out or something, so they do a little bit of everything, and any side job that no one really wants to do, they usually throw it on the managers. So, those guys, and it teaches you a lot. You learn a lot about hard work, and, but it's a privilege. It was a privilege to be there all 4 years, and I loved every minute of it. But so freshman year, we had Tyrese, that group. COVID hits, and then obviously 2021, really rough year. Or 2020 into 2021 was a rough season for us. We had, Olivier Sarr, Oscar had transferred but couldn't play. Devin Askew, those guys, we really struggled. And it's interesting because like a lot of the blue bloods did struggle that year. I thought that was something that was, consistent around the program, the country really. But just didn't have it that year, struggled in a lot of aspects, a lot of injuries. Terence Clark, BJ Boston came in with a broken pinky. Terence was hurt the whole season, so it was kind of a rough go for us. And then my last 2 years were Oscar's 2 years with us, with Xavier Wheeler and Keon and guys like that, Davion Mintz. And me and Oscar from then on, we became basically brothers. Like I was always in the gym with him. We just had 2 great years, and they just came up short, with St. Peter's. That was an embarrassing time. We could get into that, a little bit if you want, a little bit later. And then my last year with Kansas State, finally, if you think about it, 4 years as a manager, I got 1 tournament win against Providence. So, it was something that, almost brought me to tears when it happened. I was so glad because after St. Peter's and all the stuff we had gone through, but I'm still grateful for the time I was there. And, I would have killed for this year because I feel like they're another Elite 8 to Final Four, potential. So, I hope they really make it this year. I'm still rooting for them every day. So.
Yeah. So those 4 years, we got a buddy named Matt Sack. He was a student at UK as well in those same 4 years, and I talked to him a bunch about this. And I know you went through the exact same thing, but like you grow up watching Kentucky basketball, and you think about like, wow, when you finally got offered to be on the staff and help, it's like all those dreams of all these Final Fours I'm going to get to go to, and these tournament things, and then you go through the 4 years that you went through. You should have had a good year that first year, but COVID took that away. Then last 3 years are pretty rough. Man, that's just a tough run to go through. Like that's your dreams, just like of doing those postseason runs, just got kind of taken out from under you. So that's the worst. But I did want to get into what's that like? What's that day-to-day schedule like when you're with UK? Like what kind of hours are you putting in, and like what was the majority of the stuff that you kind of found yourself doing?
Man, it is rough. I'll tell you that. Passing your college classes as a manager is one of the roughest things I ever had to go through. And again, yeah, it was rough growing up. Just to touch on what you were saying, like I grew up, I wanted to play NBA basketball. I wanted to be a Kentucky guy, like 2009, 2010, when John Wall and Cal came, like I fell in love with it, you know. Um, Quit all my sports in high school for basketball, even though my parents were not happy with it. And towards my senior year, I was like, wow, I want to coach. So what can I do to get into this? And then it kind of, I was blessed with this opportunity. So it was great. And not winning a tournament game except for one sucked, but just the experience and getting to know the coaches, getting close with Cal, like that was something that I'm never going to forget. And, to this day, it's going to help me out in the long run too. Um, Hitting on what you're talking about earlier, I'm having a blank here. What did you ask me?
You expect having these postseason runs and these dreams of like, wow, I get to be a part of this for the next 4
And then
years.
and then the daily. Okay, so your daily, especially with who they got now, which you all talk about in a little bit with Coach Welsh. But so my freshman year, it was more. We had guys like Emmanuel and Tyrese. They would work out at 6, 7 a.m. Get a good hour in where you're playing defense in the morning, and then you're rebounding for them, and then you go get breakfast, go to class, practice 2, 3 o'clock every day. They'll practice for a good amount of time every day, and then there's shots after. Some guys work out in the evenings, so it's rough, and you might have a laundry day once or twice a week. It depends on how many managers they have each year. It kind of varies. My year, I think there were 9. Um, but yeah, it's interesting, man. It's hard to pass your classes and still give all you got to the program and prioritize it. And that's one thing we tell people, like when we're looking for managers, we're like, hey man, you probably can't be in a frat. Like you can't do, like, this is your frat if you do it. Like it is the biggest, the most time consuming thing, but it's also rewarding. I mean, going to the Christmas dinner and hanging out with the coaches every year is a great time. And to be honest, like I'm still reaping the benefits of it today. I'm in the position I am at Tennessee Tech today because, Cal made that call for me and the assistants were, rooting for me. And you could see a lot of former UK managers end up doing something good, even if it's not coaching. I do know one example, Randy Gregory. He is on the Magic staff. He started off as a video guy, and just last or 2 seasons ago, he was coaching Paulo in the summer league. So, it's a great place to start your career, and it teaches you a lot of hard work and how to juggle so many things and so many responsibilities.
Yeah, can you as much as you feel comfortable sharing with, but like, I know over those 4 years you made great relationships. In terms of, you said Cal made a call for you to helping you get this job. I think that's what you said. Did he ever give you like any advice, even whether it's coaching related or just personal, but like was there any moments that you're able to share kind of like, it goes kind of stuff that is behind the scenes that they kind of shared with you advice to make you advancing your career as you're getting started?
Yeah, I would say, especially at the manager dinner, he kind of talks to us about what it means to be a manager, and a lot of the times we don't get celebrated for what we do. I mean, he even scolds us during practice, which a lot of college coaches do. Like, if I throw a bad lob to Oscar in practice, he'd be like, "Come on, man, like, get it together." Like, and it's like you're just a manager, but at the same time, he's trying to hold everyone to the highest standard, and that's something that I loved. Um, but in terms of when I was about to graduate and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, he was just really helpful, and the assistants too. They were very, you probably should take this job, you should look at this job. Um, everything as far as like whether it's not being late to a workout or whatever, they keep you to the highest standard. Coach Chin is fantastic with the managers. He keeps them going. When Cal is busy and trying to focus on other things, the assistants kind of make sure that everything's right, and that's up to the manager. So we have to work really closely with guys like Orlando Antigua and especially Coach Chin and Bruiser. Um, but yeah, I mean, especially Coach Chin, he gave me a lot of advice. I would sit in his office sometimes and just pick his brain. I mean, he's got this whiteboard with all these, plays and stuff on them, and it's all written, it's all out, and he's a grinder. He's someone that, I learned a lot about what it really takes to be a successful coach in this profession. It's rough, and I'm going to spend a lot of years where I'm not going to be, the head guy. I may never be the head guy. But I have confidence in myself to get there eventually, and especially because they gave me that confidence.
Jonas, so I know over the 4 years, well, most years there's usually a lot of NBA players. You crank out a bunch of those at Kentucky. We didn't have as many over the 4 years that you were there, but we still had some. And whether they went pro or not, there were a lot of great personalities on those teams. I mean, we can just list them off. But anyways, over those 4 years, what kind of relationships, which players do you think you maybe got the closest with off the court? What are some memories you've had that kind of, we don't get to see any of that stuff. You get the up close one-on-one. How was those 4 years like, and what kind of players can you just immediately stick out to you over those years?
For me, it's definitely Oscar. Second and third, probably like, I don't know if I could even rank them. Probably Jacob Toppin and Olivier Sarr. So for example, like Oscar's just always a joy to be around, and like he's funny. He first, came to Lexington, and it was hard to understand him for me because like he kind of spoke broken English, and which has gotten way better since then. But he was a little shy at first. We had heard different things about him before he came to Kentucky, and everything was like just
They say how much he had such a bad rep coming into Kentucky.
yeah,
So wrong.
it's interesting. They would said that he was such a hard guy to like handle and on and off the court, and I really got no sense of that. And you could see obviously, he's always smiling. He's never really shown to be a bad teammate. Um there's endless things with Oscar that were just either funny or it just shows he's a good guy. I went to the combine with him this last summer and rebounded for him during that whole workout, and just one of those things, like he took care of me. He wanted to help me get some opportunities and be able to rub shoulders with some NBA guys. I worked the summer league the last 2 seasons for in Vegas for the Timberwolves, and I got to be with him then, and again with these other guys. Like I've been to Vegas 2 summers now, and first summer I show up and Tyrese Maxey's there, and he sees me, Jonas, yo, gives me a hug. Like those guys, they remember that you were there every morning at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. with Emmanuel and Tyrese. Like that year, those guys were in there every morning, tired as hell every morning, but they appreciate that. And those guys, the ones that are really, happy that you help them out like that, they'll give back. And I would say me and Olivier Sarr were pretty close, and obviously that COVID year was rough. But you got to think like it was a hard situation for him. So he had transferred to UK peak of COVID, and there was a travel ban. He couldn't go back to France to see his family, his girlfriend. So he went and just moved into the lodge before like anyone else did. He had multiple weeks where he was just like the only person living in Lexington at the lodge. So, me and Olivier, we would always go fishing. Like I would take him out. He's a big outdoorsman. He loved to do stuff like that. And then obviously we'd get our workouts in, whatever, but something to like, do something while you're cooped up during COVID. And that was something that was great. He's a great guy. Jacob Toppin, he's hilarious. Coach Cal used to call him 13. You act like a 13-year-old, which is funny. He's just always, energetic guy. He really grew up his time at Kentucky too. Transferring obviously during the COVID year, struggled, didn't play much from Rhode Island. His shot was pretty broken. It looks so much different than what it is now. He developed so much as like not only as a player but as a person. He put hours and hours in the gym, and he really showed out last year, and he's showing out in the G League now too. And he finally got his first NBA bucket in minutes the other night, which was great for him. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know about any specific stories, but especially just like being around those guys. Jacob was always a goofball, like making jokes. Oscar was he dances all the time, just in the elevator in New Orleans, like in like just random spots, like just always in a good mood. That's something that was always great. I'm never gonna forget those guys, even though they're in other states all around the country. EJ Montgomery playing overseas, like guys like that. They see me. I saw EJ in Vegas. He recognized me. Like they don't forget that stuff, you know.
That's good that you build those connections over the years. One thing I did want to touch on, because that COVID year was so different and so we had little access as media and stuff. Do you mind? I know it's a sore subject, but like Terence Clark, I mean, we got to see how happy he was. It kind of reminded me of a bunch of Aaron Bradshaw this year. Just like put a camera in front of that guy, he's gonna sit there and smile the whole time, whether a camera's there or not. And it just seemed like a great joy to be around. And I know as media, I don't get to be around him a whole bunch with the whole COVID and stuff, so it was real limited that year for us. What was Terrence Clark like? Like everybody, I've heard so many good things about it, but can you kind of give a little quick insight on Terrence Clark and his personality?
Terrence was a great person. He was always, always smiling. One of those guys like Oscar that is just like through the good and the bad, he's always in a good mood. He worked his ass off. I don't know if I can cuss on this
Oh, go for it.
podcast, but he worked so hard and he had these like nagging injuries throughout the year that really kept him and the team as a whole from, jumping into that next spot. We had Olivier had a foot problem he was dealing with. BJ had a pinky, and Terrence had, I don't remember what it was, maybe his ankle or his knee or something, but he wasn't able to really showcase, and that team wasn't really able to develop into a winning team. But I mean, despite that, he was still always in a good mood, always, saying, we're going to get better. It's okay. I'm not worried about us. We're going to be fine, all the way up to the SEC tournament. So, that's something that, you really respect out of someone because it's hard. I mean, ask the Pistons. Ask the Pistons how hard it is to have fun when you're losing every game. I mean, it was rough. It was a rough year, but, it speaks a lot to his character that he was still positive and still thought we were going to be okay through those bad times.
Yeah. One more soft subject, or so I keep saying one more sore subject, and we'll get off the more down stuff and kind of be more positive. But you said you were there for that St. Peter's game. I know you were on the staff that year. In terms of, I'm 25, so I didn't get to experience the. I don't think any of us got to experience the Christian Laettner, Duke, and all those things. We all got to experience the Wisconsin one, of course, that lost. But I can vividly remember that St. Peter's game. It was just I can't even explain how awful feeling it was. And you were there in the locker room. You were there for the bus and plane rides there. You were there the whole trip. Can you tell us a inside perspective of just kind of how it went inside, moments after that game and the season's over and you think that everybody's leaving? Everybody thought Oscar was gone at that point too. I know we did. What was that very dark moment like at Kentucky?
It was humbling. Wow, that's one of those things that me as someone that wants to coach and I'm just now starting my career, something that I'm never gonna forget. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I could sit here and predict that we were going to lose, but that day just felt eerie. Shoot around. I don't know. I don't know if we were looking forward to the next game or what. But was just different, was just very different. The whole mood just seemed like everyone felt like we were going to win, obviously, like we really believe we were going to win, but we come out flat. The offense is kind of stagnant. We turn the ball over a little bit too much, and then we're like, oh crap, like might be happening. And post game, I mean, it was rough. We had, guys were, pretty upset in the locker room. And it was something where we go back to the hotel that night and Twitter's blowing up, obviously, and social media is calling for Cal to be fired, like stuff like that, which is ridiculous. And like obviously in the long run, we say that now, it's crazy to think about, but they were calling for these guys to get fired. This coach didn't do enough. This player needs to leave, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow. And I just remember calling my parents like, Mom, what's going to happen? Like, Mom and Dad, like, what's going to happen to this program? Like, I've never been more concerned about the future of the program than a night like that. And that's something that I'm going to have to take with me when I grow up as a head coach and finally get my first position. Like, that was a rough night. That was one of those nights where I was like, wow. And we came back and thankfully Oscar came back. But yeah, we really thought that basically that whole starting five was gone. We thought Keon was maybe going to go to the NBA. We thought, guys could transfer or whatever. just, that's a infamous night for our generation for sure.
Yeah, that we'll be talking about that for a long time. And then opposing fan bases, we'll probably talk about that a little bit longer. They're the ones that would give that thing life for a while just to rub it in our face. It was a weird time. And a lot of people do say that morning and that afternoon before was something that was off. So yeah, maybe there was. I for sure was looking for the next opponent. I for sure thought we had it at wraps, and maybe that's what happens. I don't know. I can't speak for the players. If they were, maybe that's what kind of happens. Who knows, man? But on to more positive things. Thank you for sharing those. But so now you're with Tennessee Tech. Can we get into kind of like, you've got a big boy job now at Tennessee Tech on the staff. What's that been like for you, and how'd that come about? I know you said Cal kind of helped a little bit, but you've worked hard to get there. How'd that come into fruition?
Yeah, so I really wanted an NBA job. I was really looking for one, and the other option would be to be a graduate assistant somewhere. So, beginning of the summer, I applied to places like Coastal Carolina, SEMO, Duquesne, like UNLV, Kansas State, like anything that popped up, I was applying to. I mean, I don't care if I didn't have any connections to the program, like I was just looking for something because it's really hard to get your foot in the door in a profession like this. It's really rough, especially if you're not a former player. So, I applied to a bunch of places. I was preferring a Division I place. And then I went ahead and worked the summer league again with the Timberwolves, and I was hoping that a job would come to fruition there. Nothing really worked out. We talked about an equipment job, and that's just not something I really wanted to do. So fast forward to a little bit towards the end of the summer, I was like, man, I need to make a decision. And my dad was like, hey, what about Tech? Like, what about Tennessee Tech? Coach Pelfrey went to my hometown. Like, he's a good dude. I'm sure, the Kentucky connection can help you out. And man, has it helped? I remember got a couple phone calls with Coach Pell. And then I hit up the assistants and Cal, and I was like, hey, is it okay if I send Coach Pell your number, coach? And he was like, absolutely. I'm rooting for you. Like, let me talk to this guy. And obviously, things went great. It helped out. And, here I am, and it's been great. We've struggled a little bit to begin this season. We're riddled with injuries. We've got 16 on the roster, and we've got, I think, 7 guys out right now. So we can barely even practice 5-on-5. And conference play just started. We'll see how we do against Moorhead this weekend. But it's been different. It's so much different. I'm getting more opportunities to, do actual coaching. I got to do a scout for one of the NAIA teams we beat. I get to do all these workouts and assist the players in ways that I couldn't as a manager, which is something that's great, and it's good for me. Great experience. And the coaches kind of treat me like family too. That's something that's great. Like I could go to Pell for anything. And obviously for those that don't know, Coach Pell, like obviously his name's in the rafters at Rupp. He's, played under Patino. He was an assistant during those Florida years where they started winning national championships and, put that program on a pedestal. And he was briefly the head coach at Arkansas. And now he's there, and he's trying to, develop this program, and it's been great for both of us. I think it's been a good mutual thing. And yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, you're down in Tennessee now. You go from the mecca of college basketball, Lexington's a college town, Rupp Arena, Coach Cal, Kentucky basketball, all the good stuff out with that. And Tennessee Tech, it is a different world. It's a complete different experience. What's it like? You're in Tennessee. Do you wear any blue down there? Like I know you got your Drowning in Vol Nation. What's that like?
You got me wearing purple right now, but I promise you on my off days, I'm rocking Kentucky. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I would say that this is a really good move for me. I think it was the perfect move because I spent 4 years at one of the top, I would say top blue blood in the world. And you go from there to a program that is still building and trying to grow a culture. And on top of that, I was working with 5-star NBA caliber players, and now I'm working with a little bit less, where you have to kind of train them different ways. You have to work on more simpler things, different moves, different ways to play, like playing off 2 instead of, playing off one in the paint, like just stuff to lower turnovers or make the game more simple. Whereas like a guy like Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd, all those guys, like they can make kind of those crazy, a little bit out of control plays. So it's been good for me because that's something I've had to adapt to. And I was never always going to stay at Kentucky. So, jumping to a program in the OVC like this has been the best decision for me, I think.
So, Jonas, are you from Kentucky, or did you just come here for college, or what's your kind of background like?
Yeah, so my parents are both from Eastern Kentucky. My dad is from Paintsville. My mom is from Leslie County. So like way, way Eastern Kentucky. But by the time I was born, they're living in Georgetown and Lexington, and then I grew up in Northern Kentucky in Grant County. So I played basketball there, did the whole thing, graduated, and then I'm the youngest of three, so my parents are a little bit older. They retired at the same time that I graduated high school, and they went ahead and got a house in Lexington because I got the UK job and stuff like that, and started my undergrad there. So, basically, I say I'm from Lexington, but I'm pretty much from Northern Kentucky, if you'd ask me. But yeah. So wanted to I was originally going to go to Eastern Kentucky and do some aviation. That's what kind of like what I wanted to be a pilot. I was kind of the path for me before my senior year of basketball ended, and I had always been addicted to it since about 2010. And as soon as that season ended, I was like, well, oh my God, I need to do something basketball related. And here I am now, a couple years later, trying to start my career as a coach, and I'm grateful for all the decisions I made. So yeah.
Ain't it crazy how like just one little decision changes your life? Like that's a lot of pressure when you think about it. But yeah, you almost went to EKU, and then whatever made you decide to come to UK has led to everything else because of the connections and just Kentucky basketball itself. It's wild how that works. But so did you grow up a Kentucky fan, or like do you consider yourself a Kentucky fan at all?
Oh, all day, man. I mean, I was, I used to wear number 4 my really young years, because of Rondo. Rondo, I played what, 02, 03, something like that. And I was a big Celtics fan when I was like 8, 9 years old, around the time they were winning titles, with that big four. And then Cal comes to Kentucky, and that's when I just went like full UK, like crazy. So my parents would try to take me to games. I watched as much as I could. The AD year, the Harrison years, like Brandon Knight, all those guys, like, so it was a dream come true when I finally got that job. And to think now that I was like that looking back, and now some of these guys like I've interacted with, I'm close with, like it's something that, I'm so grateful for. So grateful.
So what got you into Kentucky sports? Like who introduced you to that? Like for me, it was my dad. Can you remember what kind of got your fandom started and maybe like your earliest memory as a Kentucky fan?
It was definitely my parents. My dad was a UK football guy, a little bit more than basketball, but my mom went to UK and she went to the games. She loved her time at Kentucky, and I just kind of grew up into it. I grew up wearing a Kentucky, like there's an old picture of me as a baby with a little rubber basketball with a Kentucky like shirt on. Like I just grew up into it, and it's been in my veins, since I was born. So I would credit my mom mainly for basketball, but my dad kind of too.
A lot of people that aren't from Kentucky, they don't realize that like it's a way of life here. Like it is. We don't have a professional team to
We
root
don't
for.
have, yeah, we don't have NFL. Like for me, since Northern Kentucky, it was kind of the Bengals, but in Kentucky, there's nothing. Like it's UK basketball or it's nothing. So, it's people don't really understand it outside of it, and I get made fun of, especially down here. They like to tease me for being a Kentucky fan all the time. They just don't understand.
You're putting up the good fight down there, so thank you for your service.
Absolutely, man.
'Cause, man, I just get to see it. Well, outside of a couple of Tennessee games, I've been down there a couple times for football. Not made it down there for basketball yet, but like I just get to really see the online stuff, and I'm not trying to exaggerate. Yeah, even outside of Louisville, outside of Duke, out of everybody else, Tennessee fans are the ones that just like are in the comment sections. I mean, there was a time last year where, like our website traffic boosted, and I'm not kidding you. It said Knoxville, Tennessee was where half of it was coming from. Like,
Yeah.
or like we say they're obsessed and stuff, but like we have facts to back it up, and then like so that's a whole nother thing I could get on. But let's wrap into this year. So, you mentioned earlier you wished you could have kind of been here this year as well because Kentucky basketball's finally got back to where we think it's been so far. Outside of those 4 rough years. How are you feeling about this team so far? I mean, do you want to go ahead and predict them to go to championship, or like you want to wait and see? Like, what's your thoughts? Man?
I think they definitely have the talent. There's so many things that go into making it to a national title. I mean, you're a Kentucky fan too, man. We had some teams, especially 2016. We should have more than one title. In my opinion, with the talent we've had, we should. I mean, you have to. There's luck that is involved. There, you got to be healthy. Like, there's so many things. But given that, I think this is one of the most talented UK basketball teams in since the Devin Booker year. I mean, you've got guys that I want to say 4 or 5, maybe 6 NBA dudes, on this team, and maybe a couple more that'll play overseas. You've got Reed Shepherd, who I'm a little biased because I trained him last summer, but I think he's fantastic. I think he could be a one and done, but I don't think that's really something he's worried about. They're not really, they're not really in a rush. And a lot of these guys aren't these days. I mean, the last couple of years, we've had guys that stay multiple years, like Emmanuel and like PJ Washington, guys like that. But as far as talent and especially the way they play, there's such a difference this now between like I went to UK practice for 4 years. The stuff they're doing now, it's kind of a mixture of Cal's dribble drive stuff, but then it's a little bit more modern. Let them do their thing. Let them take more threes. I had some stats on here. They went from they were in the 300s in 3-point percentage, 3-point attempts my years with Oscar in that team, but they are number 1 in offensive rebounding. You go to this team, they're like top 60, top 50 in threes, and in pace, they're way faster now. They play so much differently. They've got a lot of guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. And that just makes your offense, it's so much easier to coach. Something we're having a little bit of issues with down here at Tech is we've got a couple guys that struggle to shoot, but they're good at getting to the rim. And when you have too many guys like that on the court, as you saw with our 2022, 21 years, when you don't have enough shooters, it's kind of makes it harder to score. So I felt like sometimes we were almost struggling to even get a shot off. I mean, if you look at our games against Auburn, when we played against Kessler, games like that where Oscar had 20 plus rebounds, it's because sometimes we threw that thing up to the rim and we were just hoping Oscar got it. And, that's one way to play, but the way they're playing now is much more exciting, much more fun. They enjoy it, and it's showcasing everyone's talents a little bit too, which, that's all you want when you come to UK. You want to compete against the best and show that you're an NBA player. And I think it's working great this year. I want to say they're a Final Four, a national championship team. I'll say they have the talent, but they got to stay healthy. Hopefully they get Ivana, what is his name? I can't say it.
Isic, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, Isic, yeah. They just got to get some of those pieces together. They got to get Ugana. Ugana worked his ass off last summer. He's gotten so much better. I can already tell, and he's barely played. And one of the unsung heroes that's not going to get talked about much on their coaching staff is John Welsh. That guy knows what he is doing as far as player development. And I'm telling you, those guys, all those players, Reed, Rob, DJ, they are, even Adu, guys like that, they are soaking every bit of that NBA experience up. I don't know how much you know about John's background, but he has been on various NBA teams for years. He worked under Doc Rivers. He worked with the Nuggets. He's soaked up, and he's a gym rat. He lives in the gym. And I think that's one of the things we missed the last couple of years was a really good player development guy. And I thought freshman year I had that with Kenny. I will say most of my workouts that I do individually are all stuff that I saw Kenny Payne do my freshman year. And I picked out some things over the next couple of years from various coaches, but KP was one of those guys that would get in with them and teach them right from wrong on the court, and they haven't had that the last 2 years I was there. Those last 2 or 3 had a lot of coaching changes, a little bit of inconsistency. And, with Welsh, he is that guy. He's the guy that's going to be in there when no one else is looking, and teach this guy to rip past someone's hip or to, I mean, Tyrese used to dribble to his hip when he was trying to drive past people. It's something as simple as pushing the ball out sometimes, and you make the guy so much better. And I think Coach Welsh has got that attention to detail that's going to make those guys pros this year.
Question for you. So I know part of it is also we got Welsh, but Cal went out and got his guys too. He went back to kind of his elite freshman recruits, kind of got back to his bread and butter. And you combine both of those, and, you've got what we've got this year. Now, this is just a question for you. Do you think if we would have gotten Coach Welsh a couple years earlier, with the teams that maybe didn't have as much as talent, would we still have reaped that benefits from him? Do you think he's just that good of a coach, or is it both of those kind of combined, or what's your kind of take on that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I do think we have more talent this year than what we've had, but I do think he would have helped just as much. I don't know if the results would have shown as much because there's less talent there, but I'm telling you right now, Coach Welsh would have done so much more significant, work. Like there's a difference between putting in the amount of time of work or amount of quality work. And the work you put in the gym with Coach Welsh and guys like Kenny Payne, even guys like Joel Justice, like those guys, it's quality work. It's you're getting better when you get in the gym. You're not going in there and just chucking threes and not paying attention to any details. And I think he definitely would have added some wins to that, to those 2 or 3 years that we didn't have Kenny.
Yeah. So for us, we've never got to experience a coaching staff. You've been in it for years now. What exactly is it that, like, I know we've heard all about that the coach at Welsh is getting, he's the guy that's here for the job. We give a lot of offensive credit to him, but like what is it that he goes in there and what's he providing to this team in terms of like the exact job that he does? Like, I don't know if you've gotten to talk to him, and I think you all maybe missed years, didn't you all? But like, what is it that coach literally goes in and how does he make this team better? Because we just don't get to see that inside stuff like you've been through and experienced yourself.
Yeah, so it's interesting how different coaching staffs kind of work in the country. This is a different coaching staff than, the ones that I experienced at Kentucky. And I've met a lot of coaches because my freshman year it was Cal with Robes, Kenny, Joel, Tony, Barbie, I believe. I'm gonna be missing one. And then fast forward, you have Bruiser come in. Tony goes and takes the Central Michigan job. Joel takes the Arizona State job. So I've seen a lot of different coaches and like what they do. And I would say that Coach Welsh, attention to detail, player development stuff, maybe some offense. I haven't really seen how they interact as a group. But different coaches like we have a coach, for example, at Tennessee Tech, Blake Gray. He's mainly the guy that Pell asks about offense. And then Coach Fain or Coach Steele, they kind of both help with the defensive like strategy and stuff like that. And they kind of split up their team scouts. I don't really know how it is at Kentucky in terms of, especially this year. But I would say Welsh is like, okay, I'm going to make these players better. I'm player development. That is probably what his strong suit is. And then you've got guys like Chin. Chin is a defensive mind. Like he's one of those guys that he's gonna make you go do it over and over and over in scout team and even on the court, just he's a big defensive guy. You can hear him screaming out plays when we're playing. Watch them play this week. Who do they play? Florida or something? Or
Yep.
When they play their first SEC game this week, he's going to be calling out Florida sets as they go before they even come off the screens. Like he'll be yelling, zoom, zoom. Chin is that guy that is going to help supplement Cal with defense. So one thing that I've noticed is that, the head coach takes all the responsibility of winning and losing, but having an assistant coaching staff that it can supplement you, it's such an important thing, and you can't win without it. You cannot. That might be one of the most important things I've learned the past couple of years is that you need a good staff, like a good support staff, to be a good program.
Yeah, that's something we've gotten to see from the outside perspective. I've been able to tell that too. You don't have the personnel. I know Cal gets the wins and losses, but yeah, I've been able to see, and I don't even get to experience the things that you have, that the coaching staff does matter. One thing I did want to get your quick take on is before we wrap up in a few minutes, but Tyler Ulis, man, I just, as like a Kentucky kid growing up, just a fan, we both went through this. selfishly, like, I enjoy so much. I don't even know what kind of value he provides in terms of what he does, but just having Tyler Ulis, one of the Kentucky Cal greats, on the bench, just seeing him at the games, I think it's so cool. Did you ever get to kind of meet him? I don't know if you all got to
Yeah.
staff or not.
Yeah, so shortly after, Tyler's accident, Cal kind of talked to him, was like, hey, if you want to, work your way into coaching or something, like just let me know. And Tyler kind of took him up on that. And I don't know exactly what his role is this year, but I know last year he was more like paying attention to detail, and Cal would ask him questions just about what would you do? What did we do? What would you do? Because he's such a smart point guard. He would always make the right decision. He's got those years, he's got that experience. And for a guy like Rob Dillingham and DJ Wagner to be able to soak up that is so important for them. And even for Cal will be like, hey, did we guard this guy heels to the 3-point line, or would you rather ball pressure this guy or what? And Tyler will snap back the answer immediately. And he's one of those guys that really knows the game. And I don't know exactly what his role would be this year, but if you were to ask me, it's probably attention to detail, certain things, making the guards better in certain ways, whether it's pick and roll coverage, pick and roll offense. Things like that he kind of touches on.
Yeah, I've seen him a bunch, like especially in warm-ups. He's the kind of guy getting things going. You see him over there on the bench talking to DJ Rob the whole time. Reed, um, I don't know what he does, but I think it is more of like in-game stuff. And then just his knowledge. I mean, that's just good enough for me. Just him telling you he's played. He's got the experience, and he was very elite at it in college. So I love it. It's 100% approval rating for me. But wrapping up here, so this team's been very exciting. High offense, high production. You got a player on this team that you like, the most, as more of just in terms of that provides you most enjoyment watching, or like what you think about this team in terms of just watching from afar?
So a little bit selfishly, I'm already a little bit close with Reed. I love Reed. A lot of people would tell me over the summer, oh, what do you think he's going to do here? Like, he's a little undersized. You can't really compare him to a guy like Tyler Hero or, a really good UK guard. He's a little bit different than what we've had. And I'm like, I wasn't worried about him because I got in the gym with him and I saw how, he pays attention to detail. He had a little bit of a hitch in his shot over the summer, and we just got so many reps up to try to get that out. And he soaked up every bit of information I could give him. And I tried to, do as much as I could to prepare him for Kentucky practices and, drills and stuff like that, and get him in shape. And, he just soaks it all in. He's a student of the game. He's a great kid. You don't have to worry about anything with him. And it's unreal, his intangibles. It's like something that people don't understand is that there's so many intangibles to the sport that some things you just can't teach. I mean, being able to be in the right place at the right time, he's always just knowing what's going to happen. That's something that I think is, made the team so much better. Another one for me, just because he's so exciting to watch, is Rob.
Yeah.
Rob is, one of those guys that Cal is doing the right thing, because you got to let him go sometimes. And that's something that, imagine how fantastic he would have been if we had him 2-3 years ago, because we struggled to score at times. And when the other team is guarding your stuff perfectly and, you can't buy a bucket, put it in his hands. He'll do something. He'll get you an open shot. He'll get to the line. He's going to make a good play. And every once in a while, he'll do some crazy stuff. But, that's just kind of how he plays. And, you kind of have to rock with him and let him do that. And as he does that, he's going to learn. And of course, you've got Coach Welsh and Tyler Ulis, who knows how to play the game the right way. And Tyler wasn't as bouncy or athletic as Rob, but he played the right way. And when you get a guy that was undersized and still could be effective, and you give that knowledge to DJ, Reed, Rob, goes like, it's gonna take them all. They're gonna take off. They're gonna be stars. So, Rob at times can be a little wild, but it's just kind of how he plays, and you can't even complain because he makes shots. Like, if he comes down, splits a ball screen, and does a behind the back pull up and makes it, compared to like Reed would probably just do a push out, one dribble pull up. They both made the shot. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, Cal's doing the right thing and just letting him rock. And if it gets a little crazy, maybe set him down a second. But, you know, I've been impressed with Rob because I was a little bit worried about his size. Like he's even smaller than Reed in terms of like weight and but he's staying in front, he's guarding his ass off, and that's why you come to Kentucky. That's why you come. You have your worst attributes and they try to pound that shit out of you. Like exactly what they're doing is they're gonna attack Rob. What do you think Tennessee's gonna do? They're gonna try to get a switch on Rob. The white guy for Tennessee, Dalton Connect. He's gonna try to attack Rob. But you know what? They're gonna stop him. I'm not worried about it. So
Yeah.
just that combination of the coaching staff that they got now with the talent and these guys, they're gonna be fantastic. I'm excited. I'm really excited for this year.
Yeah, a lot of great options, and even if they do try to stop Rob, Kentucky's got a handful more guys that can have their night. But yeah, Jonas, thanks for hopping on here, man. And again, we'll hopefully have you maybe some another time in this season, especially when kind of postseason play starts to ramp up. We're expecting a good, as finally for in a handful of years, an SEC tournament run and hopefully NCAA tournament run, unless this all just fails for some reason, which I don't expect. But anyways. Jonas, thanks for hopping on. Did you have any last words before we let you get back to your the good fight down there in Tennessee?
No, man. I appreciate you having me. Just call me anytime. If you got any questions about like playbook stuff, X's and O's, that's something I've been working on. So any questions you got regarding Kentucky, I try to watch all their games. Some nights I have games at the same time. But got to be a Cats fan whenever I can.
Definitely. Well, appreciate you, man. We'll see you next time.